Hi, my name is Julie. Uh, the whole reason why I started this project, I guess you can call it, is because when I was diagnosed with narcolepsy, there really wasn't much information I could find out there. There was a lot of journals, medical journals, and medical studies done, but there really wasn't any personal information out there. There was one girl who she videoed herself having a sleep episode while she was studying, and I feel that now. I feel you. I see you now. I understand what you went through. But for the most part, there really wasn't a whole lot out there. I tried searching. I found a couple of great groups that are supportive of narcoleptics, and I found a lot of Facebook pages that were designed and organized by narcoleptics for narcoleptics, which if you have just gotten your diagnosis, I strongly suggest you go find them. They are fantastic. There is an Instagram page called Narcolepsy Not Alone, and they are fantastic. I rely on them quite a bit because they have fantastic information, fantastic people that are actual narcoleptics who give their stories. I am just trying to give you what I go through. Not all of us go through the same thing. I have narcolepsy type 1, and narcolepsy type 1 is narcolepsy with cataplexy. Cataplexy is the easiest way to explain it to somebody, that's the fastest way for them to recognize it, is think of a fainting goat. When a fainting goat gets scared or startled, they fall over and they faint. Well, cataplexy is very similar to that. It's very similar to having seizures, but it's not a seizure. What happens is for each one it's different. For mine, I will feel tingling coming up my neck. It'll go across the back of my head and come down to my jaw, and then it'll creep up the top of my head and come down and go like that. And what happens is once it gets to the top of my head, my jaw will go slack, my eyes will flutter, most often close, and my neck will drop forward like this. Those are my mild cataplexy episodes. My severe ones, which I do have, and I try to do everything I can to avoid those because those are scary, are the major ones, which I was walking across a parking lot and I had been out too long, walking too much. I had exhausted myself past the point of exhaustion, and I melted. I was walking across the parking lot, and my ankles gave out from underneath me, then my knees, then my hips, my lower back, and I just melted down to the concrete. Same thing happened to me one 4th of July when somebody shot off a firework not too far from me, and it startled me. The bang scared me. My cataplexy are triggered by big emotions, high anxiety, stress, pain, and even sex can trigger it sometimes. And that is something that people with cataplexy need to be aware of. If you've just gotten the diagnosis, then you're going to learn what's going to trigger yours. Everybody is different. There's no one good explanation of cataplexy. They found that everybody who has cataplexy has different triggers. So be aware of that. Narcolepsy is a big umbrella term for sleep problems. It's one of those situations where we are exhausted all the time. My favorite way of explaining this to people is we are. Think of the worst day. Think of your worst day being sick, the worst flu, the worst cold, pneumonia, whatever. And when you're sitting there, you have tons of energy. You feel like you can get up and do everything you need to do. But the moment you stand up, it's all gone. That is how we feel almost all the time. Another explanation is, think of a day where you did nothing but yard work, tons of yard work, and it was hot and you were exhausted. You may have even gotten a little dehydrated. That's how we feel. We don't fall asleep randomly. We feel it coming. You feel your triggers. With type 1 narcolepsy, I know for a fact that I experience it. I have insomnia. There will be nights for days on end that I won't sleep. I'll take naps during the day because I do every day. If not, I'm not worth anything. But just because we're narcoleptics doesn't mean we don't have issues with insomnia. That's actually very common. Another issue that we face is sleep paralysis. I think out of everything that I've experienced, that's the scariest thing. We have sleep paralysis in some cases, and mine, I was laying in bed and I couldn't move. I couldn't moan, I couldn't scream, I couldn't do anything to wake up my fiance to let him know that something was wrong. All I could do was lay there and whimper while this woman stood next to my bed, this hag, and she kept reaching for me and laughing, and it was horrible. Oh, it was horrible. I've only had that on a few occasions where I've pushed myself far too far, way, way beyond the point that I should have. And it scared me. Since then, I've tried to make sure I don't get to that point again because I don't want to see her again. I've had a few instances with sleep paralysis where I've seen her, and the next couple of days, I'm not worth anything. Narcolepsy is a neurological disease. There is no cure. They only treat our symptoms. We don't get better. We just learn how to cope with it and exist. I'm not allowed to drive. That was one of the hardest things, is losing my independence. I have always been a very self-sufficient, independent person. And the day my doctor told me I was not allowed to drive, my world crumbled. I have a car. It's sitting out in my driveway, and I can't drive it because I would be putting my life and other people's lives at risk if I were to get behind the wheel. It's scary. It's terrifying knowing that in an emergency situation, I can't be dependable. My family has a tracker on my cell phone for me for if I go out to a mall or if I'm out at a street fair or something like that and I wander off without them noticing or knowing, because I tend to ninja away from people and I don't even realize I'm doing it. I just get sidetracked. Walmart is one of the worst places for it. But they have a tracker on my phone, so that way if I have a sleep episode or a cataplexy episode and they're not there and they can't see me, then they can get to me and they can find me. It may sound a little over the top, but when you experience it, you kind of don't mind things like that. It's scary. I'm not going to lie to you. Hallucinations are another thing that come with this. Hallucinations are rough. I have been lucky enough to study psychology for a few years before I realized I just wasn't kind of cut out for college. But when I was in psychology, we did touch on narcolepsy and how it's a battle between psychologists and neurologists about what narcolepsy should be qualified under. Well, the reason why is because of the hallucinations. And the hallucinations that I've had, or my most common ones, are bugs. I see little black bugs, almost like scarabs, when I'm exhausted or when I'm too tired. I tend to see them more often than I'd like. If I don't take a nap, I see them. If I, for some reason, try to push longer before I take a nap, I'll see them crawling on things, crawling on people. There have been times where I ask people around me if they saw what I saw, and they don't. So I've had to start doing the check of if anybody's noticing them. If nobody's noticing them, then I know they're in my head. Narcolepsy is scary when you go through it and you live it. What makes it worse is half the time people are telling you just to get up and walk around and shake it off, because that'll make it better. You'll wake up. What they don't realize is that makes it worse. I've had loved ones tell me that, and I had to tell them, it hurts me when you say that, because it doesn't make it better, and I don't wake up. It just makes me more tired. From the research that I've done about narcolepsy, the reason why we're so tired all the time is because when the brain goes to sleep, when you go to sleep at night, most people will have a restorative sleep. Meaning when they go to sleep and they go through the stages of sleep, they will have a point in their sleep cycle where their body starts to heal itself. They go into a deep, relaxing sleep. Our brains don't do that. That leaves us vulnerable to things like dementia and Alzheimer's. It's important to keep your mind active and fresh and healthy and young. So do things that will help stave off those horrible diseases. I try to learn something new every day. I'll be honest, I didn't initially want to do this. I don't like putting myself out there. But a friend of mine who has gone through psychology and counseling and things like that for me got to talking with me, and this originally started on my Instagram. It started with me documenting my journey with this, the good days and the bad days. I promised myself and them that I would be honest, like completely honest. And I have been. I shared pictures of me crying, like ugly crying. And it was because I was depressed. Because it all hit me that I have to rely on people. I have to rely on my support system. And that was hard for me. A lot of us can't work. And that's hard too. I've been working since I was younger, every day of my life. And now I can't because I have to take 2 to 3 naps a day, or I'll have a cataplexy episode, or I'll forget, because brain fog is a thing. This is not an easy neurological disease because so many people don't believe it exists. The scary thing about that, though, is more people have it than they realize. In a lot of people, it's very simple. They just sleep during the day and they're up at night, so they work midnights. Some people, it's just a little bit of extra exhaustion. And then you have the extreme cases like mine, where they slam on the brakes and I have a cataplexy episode. I got stressed out talking to my appointment nurse, the nurse that calls to schedule my appointments. I got stressed out talking to her, and I told her, hold on, and I had a cataplexy episode. I had just enough time to tell her, hold on a second. And then I had to apologize afterwards when I was talking to her again after it was over, because I had to have her hold when she is so busy. It sucks. Don't let anybody lie to you. It sucks. But you're not alone. And that's the biggest thing. I'm doing this because one person could benefit from this. Whether it be they show their family members that, look, there's somebody else that's gone through this, or they themselves needed it to know they're not alone and they're not crazy for seeing bugs or snakes or something crawling on them when they're exhausted. You're not alone. I'll try and post more of these. But for right now, this is about all I've got in me. If I can get a video of me having a cataplexy episode, I'll make sure to post it so that way people can see what mine look like and maybe yours look a little similar. I'll even try and get a couple pictures up of me having a bad day. But I'll try and get these up as they come around. If I have more information, I'll relay it. But for right now, this is where I'm at. My sleep schedule is completely screwed up. I go to bed about midnight and I wake up about 4. I take 2 to 3 naps a day. I have cataplexy episodes that they try to manage with medication. They try to give me stimulants to keep me awake. They're not working, as you can tell by how tired I am. I'm actually so anxious about this that I'm giving myself a sleep episode, and I can feel it coming. So I'll be taking a nap after I get done with recording this, and I'll probably have a nap before I upload it. Narcolepsy is real. It is not a gag for the movies. It is not a cute trend for TikTok. Narcolepsy is terrifying for those that live it. So many people lose spouses and boyfriends and girlfriends over it because they call us lazy when they don't realize we're just tired. It's nothing we can do. There's not really anything we can do to stop it. It's our brains telling us this. So, to the person watching this, you've learned a little bit more about narcolepsy that you probably didn't know before. To the person with narcolepsy watching this, I see you, and you're not alone. There's more of us out there, and I believe in you, and sweet dreams. To the family members and support systems that are watching this, they're not lazy. They're just so tired. They're trying. They haven't given up. Every day that they get out of bed, they're trying. Every day that they get up and put clothes on for the day and walk out of their bedroom, that is them actively trying to have some kind of normal life. Thank you for supporting them, because it is hard. The depression that goes with this is very hard, because we're fighting our own bodies, and now we're fighting our own minds too. So thank you for loving them and caring for them enough to be there. I don't really have much else to say right now. This is pretty much a journal, I guess. Until next time.